Did you know that 38% of your audience will decide if they like your speech within the first 30 seconds? That's right. In less than half a minute, people will judge you based on your opening, your confidence, your message, and your leadership. If you don't nail that first impression, it's nearly impossible to win them back. The stakes are high, especially for leaders who need to inspire and engage from the start. Now, here's a shocking fact. Research shows that people forget 50% of what they hear just 5 minutes after hearing it. But guess what they remember? The beginning. Your opening is the one thing they'll likely carry with them long after your speech ends. In this video, we'll reveal the best and worst ways to start your speech, and how you can use these openers to become the leader everyone listens to. From the most effective ways to grab attention to the pitfalls that could lose you an audience, you'll learn the secrets that top speakers use to make their first 30 seconds unforgettable. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss these proven strategies that will transform the way you approach every speech. Chapter 1. Hook, Line, and Leadership. The power of a killer opener. Starting a speech is like making a first impression, crucial and lasting. Within the first 30 seconds, your audience will decide whether they're interested in what you have to say. Leaders know that if you can hook your listeners early, they'll be more likely to stay engaged throughout. The best speech openers instantly capture attention and set the tone for everything that follows. Take Steve Jobs, for example. In his famous 2005 Stanford commencement address, he didn't start with a statistic or quote. He started with a personal story about dropping out of college. This casual opener not only built a connection with the audience but also showed vulnerability, which many leaders forget to do. In fact, research by the Harvard Business Review suggests that 70% of effective leaders build trust by being vulnerable, rather than perfect. A great opener should establish authority and warmth. According to a study from the University of California, speakers who establish their credibility and appear confident within the first few sentences are 75% more likely to have a positive influence on their audience. It's not about bragging, though, it's about showing you know what you're talking about and that you genuinely care about your listeners. Now, what makes an opener unforgettable? A good hook could be a surprising fact, an engaging quote, or a personal story. For example, former President Barack Obama often began his speeches with powerful lines that challenged his audience to think differently. In his 2008 campaign speech, he opened with, "We are the ones we've been waiting for." That's a strong, memorable line that instantly positioned him as a leader. However, you don't have to rely on perfect words alone. Your body language also plays a major role. A study from the University of Texas found that 55% of communication comes from nonverbal cues. When you enter with purpose, make eye contact, and use your hands naturally, your audience will feel your leadership before you even speak. Chapter 2. The "Oh no" openers. How to lose your audience in 30 seconds. We all have a story of a bad presentation. Whether it's the speaker who rambles on about irrelevant details or the one who drones on without any energy, bad openers can quickly lose an audience. So, what makes a bad opener? For one, cliches. A phrase like, "It's an honor to be here today," might seem polite, but it's overused. Audiences tune out instantly when they hear something too predictable. Even worse than a tired phrase is the speaker who starts with a long-winded introduction. Imagine listening to someone talk about their credentials for 5 minutes. It's boring and doesn't build any connection with the audience. A 2016 study found that listeners lose interest after the first 10 seconds if a speaker doesn't engage them. Another common mistake is starting with a joke that falls flat. Humor can be powerful, but it's risky. If the joke is awkward or doesn't land, it can damage your credibility. The key is knowing your audience. What's funny to one group may be inappropriate to another. It's also important to avoid starting with an apology. When you say something like, "I'm sorry, I'm not a great speaker," you've already created doubt in your listeners' minds. You're a leader, and leaders don't apologize for their ability. Instead, embrace confidence and show that you're prepared. The worst mistake? Silence. Starting with an uncomfortable pause while you search for your notes or struggle with tech issues is a surefire way to lose your audience. As soon as you go silent, people start to wonder if they're wasting their time. Chapter 3. Confidence on Display. Mastering the Silent Leadership Opener. You don't always need words to start a speech. Sometimes, silence speaks volumes. A leader's ability to command the room with their presence before saying anything is a skill that can't be overstated. You've probably heard the saying, actions speak louder than words, but it's even truer for speech openers. A great silent opener is simple yet effective. Walk onto the stage with purpose, make eye contact with your audience, and pause for a moment before you speak. This brief moment of silence can grab your audience's attention more than anything else. In fact, a study from the University of Chicago found that using silence at the beginning of a speech increases audience focus by 30%. One of the most powerful nonverbal openers comes from leadership expert Simon Sinek. In his TED Talk, he begins by simply pausing and scanning the room, letting the tension build. It's a brilliant way to capture attention, allowing the audience to focus on what's about to happen. This technique creates anticipation and prepares your audience for the message you're about to deliver. Leadership is about confidence, and this kind of opener shows you're comfortable in your role as a speaker. A report from the Center for Creative Leadership showed that 93% of successful leaders use nonverbal communication to convey strength and competence. They know that body language, posture, and presence are just as important as the words they speak. When you lead with nonverbal cues, you're saying, "I've got this." You don't need to say anything to show you're in charge. Think about how a great leader walks into a room. There's no need for fanfare. They exude confidence through their posture and energy. So, the next time you're preparing to speak, try practicing your silent opener. Stand tall, breathe deeply, and walk confidently. Remember, your audience will notice. It's all about showing up with the leadership energy that says, "I'm here to lead." Don't forget to subscribe for more leadership insights and speech tips. Stay tuned for more powerful strategies. Chapter 4. Stories that stick. Using personal narratives to lead. Nothing grabs attention quite like a good story. Leaders who can weave a personal narrative into their speech make an immediate connection with their audience. Stories not only capture interest but also help make your message relatable. When you start with a story, you give your audience something to visualize, something to feel. This is a crucial element in any speech. Consider how leaders like Oprah Winfrey and Martin Luther King Jr. use stories to captivate audiences. Oprah, in particular, often begins her speeches with a personal story that reflects a deeper lesson. This strategy allows her to share her vulnerabilities, which makes her appear more authentic, a key trait of effective leadership. Research backs this up. According to the Journal of Business and Technical Communication, stories increase retention of key messages by 30%. That means when you tell a story, your audience is more likely to remember what you say next. Stories make complex ideas easier to digest. One powerful element of storytelling is vulnerability. When leaders share personal challenges, they allow the audience to see them as human, not just as authority figures. This builds trust. In fact, studies show that vulnerability is a top trait people look for in leaders. Leadership author Brené Brown argues that vulnerability is essential to building connection and trust, which is why starting your speech with a genuine personal story can create a stronger bond with your audience. Stories also work because they allow people to relate to your experiences. Whether it's a success or failure, a story creates a bridge between you and your audience. A well-told story, especially one with emotion, can spark change and inspire action. The key is to make sure the story ties back to your main message. It should lead into your core idea and reflect the values that you, as a leader, want to communicate. Leaders like Steve Jobs knew the value of storytelling. In his iconic Stanford speech, Jobs shared 3 personal stories about his life and career. These stories made him more approachable, and they helped frame his leadership in a relatable way. If you want to start your speech with a story, be mindful of the structure. Start with a hook, something that grabs attention immediately. Then, build up the conflict or challenge, followed by the resolution. Finally, connect the story to the lesson you want your audience to walk away with. Chapter 5. From Chaos to Clarity. Using questions to lead your audience. a powerful question can be the perfect way to open a speech. Asking the right question piques curiosity and gets people thinking. When used correctly, questions can be a leadership tool to challenge assumptions and guide the conversation in your favor. Rather than jumping into facts or statements, posing a thought-provoking question invites your audience to actively engage with your message. Take Nelson Mandela, for example. In his 1990 speech after being released from prison, he began by asking, "How can we bring about a change?" This simple question pulled his audience in and set the tone for his vision of a better, more united South Africa. Research shows that questions have the ability to increase audience engagement by 60%. In fact, a study by the University of Texas found that speeches that begin with a question hold the audience's attention longer than those that start with a statement. People naturally want to find the answer to a question, and this builds engagement from the start. Another benefit of using questions is that they establish you as a leader who challenges conventional thinking. A question can make your audience reflect on their own beliefs. For example, asking, "What does true leadership mean to you?" makes people pause and consider their own values, helping them connect with your message on a deeper level. The key to using questions effectively is timing. If you ask a question too early, without providing context, your audience might be confused. But if you wait until the right moment, questions can become a powerful tool for shaping the direction of your speech. When asked at the right time, questions guide the conversation and give your audience a sense of being part of a larger discussion. Questions also work because they allow the speaker to set the stage for a compelling argument or call to action. Instead of telling people what they should believe, you get them thinking for themselves. This engagement makes your speech more memorable, and it positions you as a leader who doesn't just speak at people, but invites them into the conversation. Remember, the best questions don't have easy answers. They should be open-ended and provoke deeper thought. Whether you're addressing a challenge, a vision, or a complex idea, asking the right question at the start of your speech can get your audience thinking in the right direction. Chapter 6. The 30-second elevator pitch. Opening with impact. In a world full of distractions, capturing your audience's attention quickly is essential. That's why the 30-second opener, or the elevator pitch, is one of the most powerful ways to start a speech. It's the art of making a big impact in a small amount of time. A great elevator pitch gets to the heart of the matter immediately, without wasting any time. Leaders often use this technique when they have limited time to make an impression. Think of it like this. If you had 30 seconds in an elevator with someone important, how would you introduce yourself? What would you say that would make them remember you? The first step in creating an impactful 30-second opener is to clearly define your message. What is the one thing you want your audience to walk away with? A great elevator pitch cuts through the noise and communicates that message quickly. One way to master this is by following the problem, agitate, solve framework. Start by identifying the problem you're addressing. Then, agitate the problem by describing the stakes. Finally, offer a solution or vision for the future. This three-part structure keeps things clear and focused, so your audience knows exactly what you're offering and why it matters. Take Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Group, as an example. Branson is a master of the elevator pitch. He doesn't waste time. When introducing his ideas, he keeps things simple, direct, and powerful. One of his most memorable pitches was about how Virgin Airways was going to offer better service than competitors, without overcomplicating the message. Statistics support the power of a strong, concise opening. A study by Stanford University found that people retain information better when it's delivered in a succinct, impactful manner. In fact, 87% of audiences prefer speeches that get to the point quickly and focus on clear, actionable ideas. The best elevator pitches don't just focus on the speaker. They focus on the audience. When crafting your 30-second opener, think about what your listeners care about. What's in it for them? What problem are you solving for them, or what value are you bringing? A successful opener makes the audience feel like they're part of something important, making them more invested in your message. Finally, practice makes perfect. A good elevator pitch isn't something you can wing. It requires rehearsing until every word counts. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel when you deliver it. By mastering the art of storytelling, asking compelling questions, and perfecting your 30-second opener, you'll be able to start any speech with impact and confidence. Leadership isn't just about delivering information, it's about inspiring your audience from the very first moment. And with these strategies, you'll be well on your way to becoming a speaker who leads with both clarity and charisma. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for more leadership tips and powerful public speaking strategies. Let's make your next speech unforgettable.